Well, back again with another new meal. This is a meal that my wife makes that is a family favorite. Everyone in the family seems to love this. So this is corn chowder. So we had it, of course, since I went canoeing last time, backpacking. And the night we had it, I thought, man, I got to be able to make this on the trail. So I decided I would try to figure it out. So this one is a little bit fussy. So I have actual measurements and stuff. I tried this one at home to make sure it was going to turn out all right. And it turned out really good. So I'm hoping I can duplicate that on the trail. And so I have some specific measurements for a lot of the stuff, so because I wanted it to kind of taste right in my pot. So I use nesting pots out on the trail. All three is typically used in a lot of meals. My small pot here is 1 liter, 4 cups. My large pot is 7 cups, or 1 3/4 liters. And I got a frying pan, which is, this is where algebra comes into play. It's X amount of liters because I don't know. I know that it's less than the others. So we're aiming for the small pot, the 1 liter pot. So this meal will fill that pot because I've already measured it to try to get the flavor and stuff right in that size portion. So this will make, you know, roughly between 3/4 and 1 liter of corn chowder. So I'm going to start with my main bag. For the corn chowder, I'm going to dehydrated hash browns. So I have 1 cup of dehydrated hash browns. I don't know if you can see there, I got 2 different kinds in there, 2 different bags. So I've got about 1 cup of dehydrated hash browns. The air comes free. So there's my hash browns. So corn chowder, of course, needs corn. So I have about 1/2 cup of dehydrated corn there for my corn chowder. And it's got air in it. My. I must have been pumping the air in. It's early April here in Canada, Prince Edward Island, Eastern Canada, Prince Edward Island, Canada, and we've had a weird couple weeks. Frost is out early and snow is melted, and but now it's cold, so I'm worried it's going to be a pretty chilly trip in a couple weeks. But we'll see. So there's corn chowder. Now I need to be able to make the actual chowder part of it. So I'm going to put in some dehydrated onions. So that's a red onion actually. So dehydrated onion will go in the chowder. So it needs some seasoning. So I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and I've got 1/8 teaspoon of celery salt in there. So those are all mixed in together. Those will be some seasonings for the chowder. Chowder. It needs to have kind of a milk base. So this is whole powdered milk. So I have 2 tablespoons of powdered milk, and I'm going to mix that with about 1/2 cup of water to try to make that milk, you know, like milk for the chowder. So I'm actually taking a measuring cup with me as well to try to get some of these measurements right. And then I need to be able to make the soup base. So I have some chicken bouillon in there, which I have 1 tablespoon of chicken bouillon, and I tested this and looked it up online. And I'm going to add it to about 1 cup of water to make my soup base. And then you have to thicken it to make it like chowder. So I have a tablespoon of flour that I'm going to stir in sparingly to thicken the corn chowder. One thing I did at home when I made it myself to try it is I put too much flour in it. So it was a little bit, wasn't the thickness, it was more the flavor. It made it more, you know, I guess doughy than I wanted. So I'm going to be careful as I add the flour to thicken it. I'm also going to put some fat in it. So I've got 2 ADL butter pats there. So 2 butter pats I'm going to put into it for flavor as well. Now my original intention was I was going to put pork in it. So I was going to dehydrate some ground pork or ground turkey and use that for the meat, for some meat in it to have some protein. But miraculously, ready to serve bacon or shelf-stable bacon came on sale at Walmart. So this is Maple Leaf shelf-stable bacon. It's an incredible rip-off. You get a tiny amount of bacon for an enormous cost. However, it was on sale, which it never is, for $4. $4 for that. $4 for that tiny amount of bacon. 1/4 pound. It's usually like $8 or $9, which is why I never take it anymore. I used to take it all the time. Anyway, this is a great story. I hope nobody falls asleep when I'm telling this story. There, I just saw you nod off. I'll wake you up. So anyway, I'm going to put bacon in the corn chowder. So it'll be potatoes, it'll be corn, bacon, and a little bit of onion. So, but on normal trips that I take this in the future, I do plan to use ground pork in it for some meat and some protein. So I'll bulk it up with that. But anyway, it's going to be bacon, which is more traditional for corn chowder anyway. So there we go, backpacking the corn chowder, all done up in the bag with some room to spare, which would put my pork in there, and but bacon this time, so we all like bacon. We'll see you on the trail. All right, tonight I'm going to make corn chowder. It's going to be my first attempt at this. That's not exactly true. I did make it at home. So here's all our good stuff that we're going to be making it with, and we'll take that out for now. And I'm going to rehydrate my corn and my hash browns, which are going to be my potatoes and my corn chowder. I've got some onions there too. I'm going to rehydrate all at the same time. I'm using my big pot, my 1 3/4 liter pot. Seven cups. So I made this at home and it was pretty good. But the hash browns like some extra time. It's mid-afternoon. We just got back from a paddle. I'm going to give them a generous amount of water. Like so. And then we'll come back at supper time and we'll move on from there. Dun, da, da, da. Alright. It's time to make some supper, so I rehydrated the hash browns and the corn and the onions for my corn chowder. So now I'm going to bring them to a boil. Once they boil, I'm going to use the water to start making some stuff. So I got my bacon here. So it's either bacon or ground pork is what I was actually going to put in it, but the bacon was actually on sale, so bacon was my preferred choice. Who doesn't want bacon? Aaron wants bacon. So in here the base I need to make for the soup. So this is bouillon. So I'm going to make like a soup base for the corn chowder. And I got some spices, some salt, pepper, and celery salt put in it. I've got some flour that I'm going to use to thicken it at the very final step. And I've got some powdered milk that I need to make. So I need to make some powdered milk as well to add in. And I got some butter. I'm going to put a little fat in it to help make it all come together. So this should be a real good meal. So once this comes to a boil, I'll come back and we'll get into the next steps. Okay, so corn and whatnot is coming to a boil. Man, I can smell Aaron's bacon. Oh. So I'm going to turn that off. So what I'm going to do, because I need to measure a bunch of things to try to get this right. So I'm going to drain off all the extra water. I'm going to use all this water to make the stuff that I'm making. Okay. So there's my corn and my hash browns, my potatoes, and my onions. They're going to go in here. Now I'm going to make what I need to make in this pot. So the first thing I need to make, I'm going to make, is the powdered milk. So my powdered milk is half a cup. So half a cup of water. Should be that line right there with what I have measured out in my Ziploc bag. 2 tablespoons plus half a cup of water. That's what we got. So we're going to make some milk for our chowder. Chowder! Alright, get that out of the way. We'll mix it up and make us some milk. Get all the lumps out. So using hot water is probably not the best, but I really don't want to waste the flavor of the water. That's the chowder. Okay, so there's my milk for the chowder. You see that on the screen? Okay, so I'll pour that in my chowder. Okay, so now next I need to make the soup base. So the soup base, I wrote the instructions on the bag because I'm not that smart. So I got a tablespoon of bouillon. I need to add that to a cup of water. So I'll put my bouillon in there. And I'll get my 1 cup measure out. It's not quite enough, so I'm going to mix this in. I'm done with this for now. Put it over the frying pan. I'm going to add just a little more water. As you can see, this is not being measured. Don't judge me, Aaron. I'm not measuring. So the bouillon will dissolve. So that's just like chicken soup base. Okay.
Never heard of that, Chowder.
Chowder. That's your base for it, yeah. So we'll move that in there. Okay. And the chowder starts to form. Chowder! Is that from The Simpsons? I think so. So there's this chowder starting to form. Da-da-da. Yeah, look at that. Looks good, doesn't it? I think it looks good. Okay, now we're going to add our other ingredients to the chowder. So I'm going to put my spices in. Salt, pepper, and celery salt. And again, I have specific measurements for all this stuff because I really want to turn out right without a bunch of, too much of this or not enough of that. So I did try this at home with these quantities, and it was good. Real good. Not too salty and all that good stuff. Okay. So I'm going to put the butter in. So once I get all these ingredients in, I'm going to bring it back to a boil. I'm going to turn it down to a simmer, and then I'm going to start adding flour in to thicken it as I want. And the leftover flour any extra flour won't get put in just for fun. So now I'm going to cut up some bacon. So this is shelf-stable bacon. It's on the shelf. It's an absolute fortune to buy. Regular price is like $8 for a quarter of a pound. Good deal. I'm pretty sure there's a way to open it, but I'm going to open it this way with my trusty jackknife. There, open. So I'm going to pull the bacon up. I'm going to cut it into pieces with my jackknife, or tear it into pieces, I guess. And we're going to boil her all together. I don't know about you, but I like bacon. Bacon all over my hand. Oh man, the bears are going to like me tonight. This is where you start singing, Aaron. You're the entertainment here. Oh, I lost a piece of bacon. Look, I don't care if you're covered with pine needles, you're going in the food. There's pine needle. Well, it wouldn't be supper in the woods if there wasn't a pine needle in it. There's actually more bacon in that package than I thought there was. And there's the bacon going into the pot. That look good. Let's see if I can get that out. That pine needle. One pine needle coming up. Okay, and I'll clean that off later on. In the meantime, get that out of the way. Meantime, I'm going to bring this to a boil. And, if I can find my lighter. Bring this to a boil. And then we'll start to thicken it. And then supper will be ready. there we go. So I'll come back once it's boiling, and I start thickening. Okay, so we're up to a boil. There we go. There's the chowder. Oh man, it smells good. Aaron's showing me his enormous pile of bacon on top of his bannock. He's having a bacon sandwich. Okay, so I got this boiling. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm going to add some flour in sparingly, because one of the things that I did at home when I made it is I added too much flour. So that was one of the negative things about it, is that it was a little bit floury, which is not really what I'm looking for. I don't want it to taste like bread. I just want to thicken it a little bit here. I'll turn that down just a little bit more. This is roughly what I think I need to thicken it without being too much, so. Bring it back up a little bit. I'll thicken it if it's not boiling. Big head. Aaron has interjected his supper into mine, trying to make it look better. I'll have comments on there saying, "Where's the recipe for making the bacon sandwich?" You have to watch Aaron's channel for that. Alright, still not what I want, so I'm going to put the rest of the flour in. So I had 1 tablespoon of flour in there for thickening.
Boy, that's hot.
Oh, it's starting to thicken. There we go, look at that. Thickening up like a chowder. That's what it needed. It needed that full table. I should have just trusted my work. There we go. Backcountry corn chowder. There she is already. You know, you'll get to see me eat my first bite. How's that sound? All right, so here's the corn chowder. Let's have a big boiling bite of it. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Bon appetit. We'll see you out on the trail.